Hello, and welcome to The Fool and the Philosopher.
The Philosopher and The Fool. I saw a video by English Longbowman, and it's a very interesting video where he said, right, so when you have an English longbow, you want to find one that you can draw. And then when you draw it, you can have the arrow on line on the inside, you can have the arrow on the outside. You can turn your bow slightly sideways and fire that way, you can crouch down. If the one stance doesn't work for you, you can move to shift it dynamically. And so the whole idea with archery being very rigid comes from modern bows and forms in sport. A longbow, though, is meant to be dynamic because you never know where you're going to be shooting from. And then I was thinking about drawing bows. And so you hold the bow in your left arm, let's say, and you grab the string and you pull the string back to your face.
Yeah.
Now this guy said you can, with a longbow, actually, if it works for you, you can pull it back to your chest. That can be the point you can pull it to. You can even, you can pull it to your nose. You can pull it to the top of your head. There's a lot of different places you can pull a longbow to, as long as you can hit your target. And I was thinking, what if you hold your bow and you put the string at your draw point?
Yeah.
And then you extend your arm holding the bow.
Yeah, you can do that. So there's an Italian guy. He's like a top recurve archer. He does that.
Yeah.
And there's also the style here in the Yukon.
Yeah.
That was actually how they would shoot. They'd put their hand on their chest and then they'd push their arm forward.
Mm-hmm.
The problem with that style of shooting is you use your bicep to move the bow, which means you'll use a much lighter bow and you'll get tired quickly. When you pull back a recurve bow like this, you're not actually pulling with your bicep, you're pulling with your back, which means you can pull a much heavier weight. And with a longbow, that's impossible because a longbow doesn't use just their back muscle. They actually use their entire back. They don't just use their shoulder blade. So a longbow, they'll stand
with their butt out.
They'll stand like this.
Yeah.
And so they're actually using both their shoulders, their lower back, their glutes, they're using everything they can. They might even do like this, so they're using like the side of their back as well there.
Yeah.
So it's so the problem with this method is you have to be insanely strong with your bicep.
Yeah.
And you'll get tired much quicker and you'll get injured more likely.
Mm.
So modern shooting form is based around modern bows, obviously. Like the one thing kids always get wrong is they grab the arrow.
Yeah.
Because they're like, you got to grab the arrow when you shoot. It's like, yeah, if you didn't have a nock that attached to the string, that's true. But modern nocks, you can actually suspend the arrow from the bow and it'll just hang there without you holding it at all.
Yeah.
And so holding it will actually cause your shot to miss because it's already clicked on there. But yeah, the guys up here, very few people could shoot their bows because it was just like using your bicep a lot to people. Now, I have seen people also start here and then pull back to their chest, but they're still using their bicep here. They're not using their back muscle. So it is a possible technique. Mm-hmm. I watched. I read a book. It's I read parts of it. It's long, but it's from the 1800s, and a guy gathered basically every form of release for archery.
Yeah.
And it's basically my conclusion from reading it is everything has been done. They have done every single way to hold the string. There's no wrong way to do archery.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean, it's kind of like what English teachers tried to convey poorly in school. It's like, learn how to shoot and then you can mess with the rules, right?
Yes.
But there isn't really a wrong way to, but
that's English siegecraft as well.
As long as you're consistent, then you can do whatever basically.
Yeah, we had a guy, I remember when we were in archery club, who our mom would always say he shoots a bow like Groucho Marx.
How's that? Like
the guy, he would squat. Do you remember?
Oh yeah, I think so.
Yeah, because Groucho Marx was a physical comedian.
Yeah,
that's like the Groucho Marx mask. And so he had this walk where he'd crouch down to basically squat, and they had this really exaggerated walk. And so this guy, to shoot his bow, would squat, and it always looks bizarre. And you're a kid, you want to emulate him, and you're told, no, don't do that. That's not proper form.
Yeah.
But he was one of the better archers in the club.
Yeah. Now, the archers in the club aren't necessarily that good either. Like, it depends what you're going for, right? Like, for example, the head of the club, I won't say his name just to, but he's not, compared to our competitive archers, he's not as good as them, right? Yeah. Like, they learn proper form, they stand up correctly. However, if I went to a garage sale, and I grabbed a random bow, and I gave it to one of the best competitive archer, and then I gave it to him, and they had a target, and they got 10 shots, he would have a higher score, the head of the archery club, because he can use any bow. Yeah. He has a much broader depth of understanding of every kind of bow there is and the form and everything like that. He doesn't have the form to use a specific bow to a competitive level, but he can use any bow decently good. Yeah. Whereas a competitive archer needs to use their bow. Yeah. With their arrows.
Yeah. The British archer, I think his name's Joe Cox. Yeah. He's a longbow archer. He's like one of the best longbow archers in the world right now.
And his aim sucks. Like I've watched him, and compared to a competitive archer, like his aim sucks. But He's shooting a 150-pound longbow.
Yeah, well, so one of the things he talked about as well is he did a video recently.
Like, his aim's amazing for a longbow archer.
He did a video recently where he was testing stripping the feathers off the arrows.
Yeah.
And he'd fired them up in the sky, and he could generally shoot where he's going, but when he shot them straight forward, the arrows would oscillate and like completely miss except at a certain point. Then he's explaining to the guy, he's like, one of the big things with archery is you actually need to learn every single one of your arrows, especially with a longbow. And so if someone's giving you random arrows, you want them to have feathers, and you want to have the most simple arrows you can, because like if I learn these arrows that you've stripped the feathers off and practice them with a whole bunch, I could actually probably start firing them. Like, you just giving them to me, these are useless.
Actually, that's a really good point, because what I've seen him do is, like, when he was shooting at that armor or whatever, so I can't actually say his aim is bad, because he was using arrows that were given to him, which is... It's not how you should be doing archery. You should be using arrows designed for your bow and for your shooting, right? So,
also, when he was standing in a row of English longbowmen, because they had 10 of them all at once, and they're volley firing them at a suit of armor, he was consistently hitting while they weren't.
No. He's good aim for a longbow. It's just longbows aren't very accurate.
No.
But, that said, I think he would be a lot more accurate if he was using his own bow and arrows that were made for each other. Because... if your spine on your arrows is wrong, the arrow actually hits the bow when it leaves, and it throws your shot way off.
That's one of the other things is he's using a war bow, where a hunter in England would actually be very accurate, because they'd be using a yew hunting bow, which isn't a war bow. And you're not shooting nearly as far with them, and it's a lot lower pounding, because you're trying to shoot a deer in a heart. You're not trying to shoot a man.
Did you know that our family is from York? Part of our family is from York, in the UK. And the Duke of York
had 10,000 men.
His other title is actually the Lord of Yew, because it was the place where all the yew was grown. And yew is one of the most sacred plants in the UK.
Yeah.
Because it's medicinal and physical property. It's a very hard wood, and it's also every part of it's poisonous. Like the leaves, the bark, the inner wood, like every part of it's poisonous. But it was also amazing for making bows, staves, like anything hard you needed. And so I thought that was interesting that we have this history of like our families from an area where.
Well, isn't there a line which is your grandfather had to be an archer?
It's like if you want to teach someone the longbow, you must start with their grandfather.
Yeah.
Because it's. Longbow is very hard. Like I said, like this Joe guy, right? Like he's very good for a longbow, but longbow is very hard to shoot because it's super heavy, which throws you off. And then it's not like if you look at a modern bow, you've got a rest, you've got a riser. So you've got like a window in the riser that the arrow sits in, and you've got the nock that clicks into place. Everything is designed to give you a very straight release. You can put in. You're talking about how like he needs to learn the arrow.
Yeah.
So what you do in the modern day is you measure your draw length.
Yeah.
Right? And then you go to a computer and you type in your draw length, the weight of the arrow, the length of the arrow, the weight of the arrowhead, the type of feathers you have on it. There's a few other things, right? And it'll actually tell you need this spine of arrow that is this length because it's carbon fiber. So you can just spin out an exact, like, they're not perfectly exact, but they're pretty close to like exact. And what you can even do then is you buy it. So let's say you need 6 arrows for a tournament or 12 arrows for a tournament, right? So what you do is you buy 40 arrows. You weigh all of them because carbon fiber has variance in it. We don't have like perfect carbon fiber production. You get rid of all the extreme outliers. Yeah. You take those ones. You shoot those ones. You can shoot them through a piece of paper even. Yeah. You see which one hits the cleanest. You take those 6. Now you have your arrows you're actually going to use. Yeah. So it can be... Now, they were doing that back in the day. Like, up here, what they would do... They didn't have the computer program back in, like, the 1800s in the woods. Yeah. But what arrow masters would do is they'd take their arrow in their hand like this, so it's, like, straight up and down. Yeah. And they'd fling it across and grab it in their other hand. Yeah. So they'd slap it into their hand. And based on the way it vibrated, they could tell, oh, no, I need to shave a little bit off here, or a little bit down here. Okay, a little bit there.
Now, again, back in the day, the problem in England is you're a yeoman with your 20 yeoman buddies, and the Duke of York says, all right, your village is part of the levy, and we're going to go fight in the War of the Roses versus whoever York was fighting at the time. Yeah. And it's like, all right, so here's your barrel of arrows. This is your ammunition.
It's Lancaster, I think.
Yeah. It's your ammunition. There's 200 arrows in this barrel. Yeah. They like our Fletchers spent all year making arrows. Here's your 200.
Yeah, was that how they do it, or would you make your own? Because
Fletchers would make so many arrows. So you would make your own, but also For war, it was a big industry was Fletchers.
Right. But then you're not... Now, the other thing is, in target archery, if you miss by 5 inches, right, that's the difference between 10 points and, 3 points. Yeah. Right. So having a correctly spined arrow is super important. Yeah. You're going to war, and you miss a guy's sternum, and you hit him in, the lungs. Yeah. It's okay.
Well, that's also...
You're still wounded.
That's also the thing with stripping the feathers off, is if you want the extra long range from stripping the feathers off and shooting high, it's... When you're doing that high shooting, you're shooting 20 dudes or 200 dudes. But one of the other things apparently with archery with longbows is the whole thing where it's hold loose. Probably actually never happened like the volley fire. Yeah. But they were told to hold because there was this optimum range which archers had, which is when the arrows actually started working. And so you'd wait until they got close enough and then you start shooting. And it's even considering the maximum range of a bow, it was way closer for comfort than I would like. It's well, why would they do this? Well, the other thing that yeomen did is they walked around with a bunch of stakes and they'd plant them in front of them and they'd have footmen nearby. And so if you got too close, the footmen would attack you. Or you'd go into a patch of trees to slow down attacks.
I wouldn't, the hold, I would assume, would be saying don't draw. Yes. Because you can't hold at anchor. You would... It actually weakens your shot because your muscles start to relax, even if you can hold it. So it becomes less accurate and less powerful. So you'd have to be hold would be you're ready, you're ready, and then you'd go up and shoot. Yeah, because there's no way, especially a longbow, you can hold that for 3 seconds. And they were shooting 3 arrows a minute as well, or something.
Way faster.
Faster than that.
Oh yeah. No, when Joe was doing the those shots, he was the fastest of all of them. He could shoot about twice as fast as the other guys, and he was fast. It's draw, aim a little bit, shoot, draw.
Yeah, they're going fast.
They're going fast. They're firing a lot of arrows. It's weird. Just on archery, there is in Europe there was basically 2 archer cultures. There was the British and the Mongolians, and the Mongolians had the superior bow in a lot of ways. Their bows were easier to draw. You could fire them from horseback. You could... they had more power. I think they had farther range.
I don't think they had further range, but they were about... I think they were both 150 pounds, the British and the Mongols, basically.
Yeah.
I think. Yeah.
But the difference with them...
But I think the Mongols suffered more from air resistance because they had shorter arrows, I believe. I could be wrong there.
Yeah, they short arrows... But some of the other differences was the locations they're fighting in. Yeah. Is if you're the greatest archers in history fight each other. If the British went to Mongolia and fought, they would probably lose. But I think the Mongolians would lose harder because their bows would fall apart.
Oh, if they came to the UK.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, even if they didn't, their horses couldn't go anywhere. And
no, their horses couldn't go anywhere.
And I also think the British are basically the only culture on Earth that would actually stand a chance against the Mongols. Yeah. Because they're the only ones that can match them at range. Everyone else, everyone uses guns in warfare right now, right? And it's why didn't everyone just use bows back in the day? And it's because it actually takes a lot of training to teach someone how to use a bow. And anything other than a bow, like a gun or a crossbow, it's got short range or it's not very accurate.
Well,
but the British actually had everyone with archers.
The bows were such a big part of the British, they actually got this really interesting advantage in melee combat versus the French. Can you guess what advantage the British knight had in melee combat versus the French knight?
They were stronger.
No, it has to do with armor.
Okay. They tested their armor against their bows?
No, the British had better vision.
Oh, because...
They had open-face helms, where the French had to have closed-face helms.
And why did they have to?
Because the French were scared of getting shot in the face.
Oh, but the
British weren't. And when you're fighting someone, if you're in full armor and they're in full armor, having an open face isn't actually that big a thing. Yeah. Because a sword stabbing you in the face, even if you have armor there or you don't, a sword stabbing you in the face is going to kill you.
Yeah, but a crossbow is going to get stopped in the armor either way.
Yeah, but an arrow hitting you, a faceplate will protect you from an arrow. The British aren't worried about an arrow hitting them in the face.
But the French had those big cones in there.
They had those cones, they had frog mouths, they had a whole bunch of things because they were terrified of getting hit in the face. And so when a group of French knights and British knights would fight, the British had way better vision because your vision gets super restricted.
Yeah, I guess just the reaction to your opponents would make you weaker.
And they were enemies for so long that the French also, I believe, had heavier shields, they had more armor plating on their chest because they really didn't want to get shot by the British arrows.
It's actually, you know how in warfare, like the reaction to others being a disadvantage, right?
Yeah.
So in warfare, like let's say you're playing Total War, and you've got two armies there. You charge all your forces forward into your opponent's like single group of pikemen.
Yeah.
You're like, I'm going to just annihilate them because I've got this. I'm going to send all my army in there.
Yeah.
And then suddenly your opponent's reserves emerge from the woods and are able to flank you because you didn't hold back your own reserves to counter any surprise maneuvers they might do or things you weren't aware of.
Yeah.
Right. So I watched this video that it was a guy talking about like management philosophy, like being a manager in business.
Yeah.
And he was saying, so bad managers or new managers, they'll see their employees in their office not working. They're talking, they're playing games or whatever. They're like, okay, I'm a bad manager. My boss is going to be mad at me for not being a good manager. Yeah. So I've got to make sure they're busy doing this. Okay, you need to do this. You need to do this. We haven't cleaned up the break room yet. Go clean the break room. Like, just everyone has to be doing stuff all the time.
Yeah.
And then a client comes in and they're like, all right, we've got a job. We need to get it done by next Tuesday. And everyone in your office is exhausted because they've just been constantly working. And so having reserves in the workforce and also, so that is
knowing each person's strength as well.
Yeah. But it was fascinating that basically to be a good manager, if you see your employees slacking off, that might be okay.
Yeah.
They might need to be on a break. They might need to be gathering some creative juices. They might need to, like, it was really, because I had, I felt bad about it because in my last couple weeks with the schools, two of my assistants right near the end were just like, they were actually on their phones during the classes.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, come on, like get up on the line and like coach these kids, right?
Yeah.
But then I was talking to the other coach and he's like, look, they're in school, it's exams, they're almost done, they're exhausted.
Yeah.
And they just have like nothing left. And then I was thinking, yeah, and they've also been working for me twice as much as normal because of my injury. I've been having them help me. So these guys are just done, and I'm just going to make them not want to be they're really good coaches, and I might just make them not want to be coaches if I just keep pushing.
Yeah.
And then something interesting happened where I told you the story about how one of my assistants didn't show up when she was supposed to. But I phoned her a few times, and the reason she didn't, because, she's always on her phone, like during the class she's just texting stuff, right? But I phoned her a few times, didn't get any response. But the reason I didn't get any response, she said, no, I didn't have my phone all day. It was just in a different room when I was doing stuff. And it's like, oh, good for you. Like, it was just because she was, I guess it's my old man brain, but I guess what the youth do when they're tired is they use their phone, which to me, using your phone is like, that takes energy.
Yeah.
But to them, it's like, oh, I'm exhausted. I need to relax, right? So it's like, this is your default. Now, I think it's actually probably a pretty bad way to relax because it probably makes you even more tired.
Yes.
I don't think it would restore your strength. But I think what might actually let you relax is doing something specific. So if you pull up your phone and you play a game, that might actually make you relax. But if you're just scrolling through random stuff, I think that'll make you more tired. But if you go and like, I'm gonna play Mario on my emulator, I think that might actually be relaxing. I'm not sure about that. But the management lesson that applies to warfare, I was like, wait, that's really interesting. Like you don't know, like your reaction to things can actually be a negative, and it's good to have reserves. And where that applied, I finally finished it, but I was doing that map in Heroes of Might and Magic, right? And I was just getting burnt out. I was controlling like 8+ heroes every turn, moving them around, and I was making all these mistakes. And then I was like, wait a minute, this would be faster if I control like 3 heroes that don't make mistakes.
Yeah.
And also, because the AI can just randomly appear through a teleporter, it's good to have a strong hero doing nothing because then they're free to stop this guy. If they're way off in the corner of the map, they can't do anything. So instead, I should just have heroes on standby, ready to help me out. And so that's actual like strategic thought, that pushing yourself too far, carrying a rock heavier than you can bury to tie it back into Jordan Peterson to make the editing harder.
It's your editing.
So tying it back to the Jordan Peterson, carrying the heaviest rock you can carry, but not heavier. Actually means you have the reserves you need when the unexpected strikes. Yeah. And it's the same thing with exercising. Like, my physiotherapist was talking about this, where he said, those bodybuilders at the gym that are like giant muscles and whatnot, he said they can use about 1/3 of their strength because they're pushing themselves too hard. Yeah. Now, it depends on the guy, right? The people that know what they're doing, they'll take like the weekend off, and then they're actually able to like, whoa, I'm so strong. Like, I actually have, but it's like, you have the muscle mass to carry like 400 pounds, but you can only lift 120 pounds because you're never taking a break. You're just constantly pushing yourself. So it's like, take the occasional break here and there, and you will be way stronger. And it's the same thing with carrying that heaviest rock. Like, don't carry heavier than heaviest. Just carry actually the heaviest, which is lighter than you would think. There's a principle, it's Japanese, I think it's 80%, right? Yeah. It's like, do 80% of what you can do. 80% of your max. Yeah. And that's like their longevity and mindset sort of thing. And it's actually, it also applies in archery, which is, if you're like pulling back, you're like, oh, come on, I've got to do everything right. And then you shoot, it's not going to be a good shot. archery is not 80%, it's like 20%. Like archery, there's a top archer, he said archery is a 2 out of 10 sport. You need to go up, you need to be calm, you need to be like, yeah, this is fine, and like it's better to be relaxed than to be doing everything right with your super heavy bow, and oh no. It's better to just be in a state where you're relaxed and it's easy.
Yeah.
And you'll actually get better results if it's easier, which I think is probably something that you could apply to a lot of life. Now that doesn't mean don't do the things that need doing, but it means don't torture yourself for the sake of torture so that you feel like you've done something. Sometimes you need to not push as far.
I really want to briefly talk about pike and shot era.
Okay. Like the sort of pre-Napoleonic?
Yeah, pre-Napoleon.
Yeah.
It's a fascinating, actually quite long period. And I think it's from the 16 to 1800. Okay. It's about when it lasted. It might be a little longer.
Yeah, I could believe that. Like handguns were starting to be used around the 1300s.
Sorry, no, it's from pike and shot is from 1360 to.
Like the handguns weren't very good in the 1300s, but they were around.
But yeah, so there's I think they're called corsairs or cursor. They're the horsemen who wear full plate armor. A lot of the time they painted it black, and they had pistols.
Dragoons?
No, dragoons are different.
Okay.
Dragoons are very importantly different. So I can't remember the exact term, but
those Black Knights in Age of Empires 3?
Yes.
Yeah.
Except they're mounted.
Yeah. No, they were mounted.
Okay. Yeah. So
like one of the best units.
Well, so why they're black? That means you're a mercenary if your armor's painted black. So there's a fascinating thing about those guys. When you brought up the dragoon, is the dragoon surpassed those things in a lot of metrics because it turned out after a certain point that the armor they were wearing was pointless.
Yeah, it's like the Corvette in Battleship.
Yeah. Well, so what dragoons would wear is you had two kinds of dragoons. You had heavy and light dragoons. And a light dragoon would wear both dragoons would wear a breastplate and a helmet. And then they'd have like leather riding.
Well, as I understand it, armor has never in history been unable to stop firearms.
Except for the ironclad.
No, never been unable.
Okay, yeah.
So armor has always been successful in stopping firearms.
Yeah.
However, there was a period, like you're saying, like the 14, 15, 16, whatever it was, hundreds, until about like after World War II, because armor's back in fashion now, basically. Where even though the armor could stop bullets, you gained a tactical advantage by not wearing armor, or wearing as little armor as possible. So that's why like World War I, World War II, they just wore helmets, basically.
So the cuirassier, I think it's cuirassier, it's like a French or Spanish word.
Yeah.
And it comes from cutlass.
Yeah.
Is you'd ride with your pistols, you'd fire your pistols, then you'd draw your saber, and you would cut people down. Great for dealing with peasants and unarmored enemies and people without guns.
Yeah.
However, expensive and heavy. So you have 20 of these guys.
Yeah.
You can get 40 light dragoons for the same cost. And you're firing at each other, and a dragoon gets hit in the arm with a bullet. It's actually not like an arrow getting hit in the arm with a musket bullet or a flintlock pistol bullet.
Yeah.
And so you get hit in the arm, it's like, oh, my arm's out of commission. I can still fire the other one, I can ride away. And their weapons were of a strength enough that, yes, the breastplates would help. So you shoot a dragoon in the chest, he's fine. Well, he's not fine. He's going to get punched by a bullet. It's going to be a massive dent. And you shoot the corsairs in the chest, it's also going to hurt. But you have double the amount.
Probably loud, too.
Yeah.
And
then the problem is, well, you see your enemy has these guys, the Black Knights. You're not going to send light dragoons after them. You're going to send heavy dragoons. And what heavy dragoons were is a guy who would ride his horse and then get off. And he'd take out a musket and fire. And it's the problem with the Napoleonic era, is you were trying to get as many guns as possible. And so you're producing massive cheap guns that work. A heavy dragoon's gun is actually an accurate weapon.
Yeah.
It's an accurate flintlock or matchlock with oomph behind that's masterfully crafted. And so you have 40 heavy dragoons right up, get off your horses, they outrange your pistols, and they're going to shoot your horses.
Yeah.
And you're screwed. And so it's like, oh, that's the big thing. But then what was the dragoon's weakness? The dragoon's weakness was the lancer, which is you have a guy with a really long stick, charge them, and they're wearing a breastplate and a helmet, and they poke them, and they take them out. And then you have the best of the both worlds, which were hussars.
Can you imagine getting a lance?
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah. And so a hussar was a dragoon lancer. And hussars didn't need to be winged, that was just a Polish thing. And so a hussar would ride, usually with a brace of pistols and a lance, and they had this special thing on their horse, which it could hold like spare lances. And so you charge your enemy with your pistols. You like fire twice with your pistols, put them away, grab your lance, and then impact the enemy.
Yeah, I think John Carter of Mars was a dragoon, I believe.
Yeah.
That was his thing.
But it's a bizarre period because there's a weapon called the repeating matchlock. And it doesn't look like what you think. Because
what would I think?
it has a matchlock head and a matchlock head and a matchlock head and a matchlock head. They're like rowed down the barrel.
And there's more than one barrel, I guess? Or
yes.
Yeah, because you'd have to load each barrel.
Yeah. And then there's the repeating flintlock, which has a crank on it. And what you do is you load the 6 shots in, then you fire it, and then you rotate the crank, and it automatically reloads the barrel, all self-contained, and you can fire it.
So the what did you call it? The matchlock one?
The repeating matchlock.
Yeah, the repeating matchlock. I'm just thinking about it. Like, it would probably be slower to reload than a normal matchlock.
It is slower to reload, yes.
But for an initial shot, like, it'd be good for shock troops, I guess, because you could get a bunch of shots off.
Yes and no. It's good for shock, but also, yes, it took longer to reload than them. However, they would get more shots off overall even then because its reload time wasn't actually significantly longer. So they could, let's say they fire 6 shots.
Yeah.
In the amount of time that it took them to reload, a normal musketman could reload 3 times.
Yeah.
So overall it's faster. Now why they didn't have them is those guns were expensive as high hell and required extremely good craftsmanship to actually create.
I was looking at
And so it's this very weird thing where, again, with the armor, as it was cheaper not to give people armor, it was better to have maneuverability, is that repeating matchlock. If you're one guy, like if you're a mercenary, let's say you're like some action hero like a Rambo,
yeah,
you would want one of them. But if you want to outfit an army, the amount of time that it takes to make a repeating matchlock, you could have a guy, a gunsmith, make 20 muskets.
Yeah.
And 20 muskets will annihilate the Rambo with the repeating matchlock.
I did a firearms safety course recently, and so we had to learn about the whole history of firearms for some reason as part of the course.
Yeah.
And just seeing everything side by side, it did make me wonder, like, you know, the matchlock, it makes a lot of sense. Like, you have the flaming wick, you tap it down when you want to shoot, you shoot. Like, it's pretty obvious, right? Yeah. Flintlock, almost, I guess it's more reliable, but...
Flintlock is good in wet conditions.
Yeah, because like the matchlock, you have a big wick that you're maneuvering, so it could go off. And I imagine the flintlock's more accurate too, because with a matchlock, you actually need to move the hammer in order to shoot, so you have to like put it into position. Whereas with a flintlock, you just pull the trigger and you can shoot, so you're not like moving something. Yeah. Right? But the wheel lock, which came after the flintlock, it's like the worst of both worlds. Like it used a spring in order to fire, and it would like strike the flint as the wheel turned past it. But it was like insanely expensive, pretty unreliable, and like could break just at any point. And so this was like a really expensive, worse gun than like a flintlock, basically. Yeah, it was. But that one was funny. But like a matchlock, actually, like I could see still more or less being useful today. Really, like it's
well. So what is interesting is in the age of sail with the pirates, like the high age pirates, is the British ships of the line, their gunmen would often use matchlocks, and the pirates would use flintlocks. And the reason for that is a matchlock burns down and you have to get a new match. Whereas a flint you can keep using over and over again. Yeah. And a pirate doesn't know when he's going to get his next match.
Right.
For his
right, but they have the supply line to have the matchlocks, and the matchlocks
because it is a lot easier to get gunpowder and bullets than it was to get matches.
I wonder, like, I did just say that I think the matchlock's less accurate, but on the other hand, if it was on a tripod or something, right, you could just very slowly like lower the wick into place, and then it would be like soup, because you don't have to have a hammer or anything. It's just very like just touch the wick to the cap and then
Well, there's matchlocks that had it would just lower down and hit forward. Right. You would pull a trigger and the match would just drop.
I mean, I guess it's a pretty obvious next step to just
that was what most matchlocks did.
Yeah,
it was a match like the modern matchlock. I say modern was like a flintlock. It was a burning wick attached to it, and it just dropped down.
Well, yeah, but I think you could also just like lower them, like with your hand if you want. Like, but I guess the percussion cap, it's like it's waterproof and it's really simple. Like it's just you just stick the bullet in the gun.
There was William of Orange. He made a type of soldier which They were the invincible soldiers. Do you know about them? So he looked at the battlefield and was like, all right, let's actually get a group of men and put them in bulletproof armor. And so he put men in bulletproof armor, and he gave them guns and swords.
Yeah.
And he gave them shields that are also bulletproof. So, like, insanely armored. Guns couldn't hurt them. And he found out they are useless.
Because they couldn't catch anyone?
They couldn't catch anyone. They got gassed out really. They tired out so fast. They were actually useless. And they were so expensive to make, that suit of armor. It's like, oh, okay. But there was fully bulletproof armor, like entirely bulletproof armor. But it was useless.
Yeah, because it's like...
that person couldn't march. And it took them so long to get into their armor.
Yeah, like, I mean, we still have that today. Like, it's called a tank, right? Like,
yeah, and another really weird thing is a little bit before pike and shot started, and why lancers came about, is knights actually stopped riding horses. They're, like, right before pike and shot.
They started riding those, what are they called? Those little pony things?
No, they didn't. No, what happened is basically, it was found out that the best way to be on the battlefield was to be in really nice full plate armor with a halberd.
Yeah.
And it, like, with a little thing on the end, or a poleaxe, I guess, and the other one. And you would square off against another guy, and you bang away at each other until someone's knocked down, and then you capture them and you drag them off. It's like, oh, well, why not have horses against those? Well, the horses, you'd ride up to one of these guys, and he's got a halberd. And so it'd be a group of 20 of them, and you try to horse charge them, and it wouldn't work. And you would have your hand cannons, and you shoot at them. Not accurate enough, not enough force, and won't hurt them. You'd fire arrows at these foot knights, and won't hurt them. Armoring a horse is difficult. Arrows hitting a horse, your horse will go down. These guys just walk towards you, and if you leave your position, you've left your position. And then the two things that stopped the foot knight from taking over was the lancer and the
dragoon.
Well, the guns just become better.
Yeah.
But the lancer was the big one. Is like, all right, so if I have a lance that's longer than his halberd, I just charge and hit him with it, and then I run away. It doesn't matter if he's wearing good armor or not. He's going to get knocked over by this lance.
Do you think if, like, you didn't care about your horses, like, I bet a pike wall wouldn't work at all. Like, you could, like, there's that scene in Lord of the Rings where the orcs all turn around to meet the charge of the Rohirrim, right?
Yeah.
And the Rohirrim just plow through them. But, well, I guess that's kind of the opposite I'm getting at.
Yeah.
I think those horses are all dead, though. That's kind of, but I think, like, even if a horse met a lance dead on, like, you know, the light shined into your eyes so they didn't get the lance down. But even if the horse met the lance dead on, that's a lot of power. Like, I think you're dead if a horse hits you. Like,
yeah.
But it's just...
Well, the thing about a pike wall is the horses wouldn't even reach the men. Because pikes were so long. Basically what happened is you have the guys with halberds and poleaxes, and the lance is longer than them. And then you're like, wait a minute, why not just give the guy a stick that's longer than the lance? Because he can hold it with two hands and have leverage, whereas a lancer can only hold it with one hand. And so then you get the pikes, and you get pike square. It's like, wait, why are we wearing armor if we're in a pike square? Because these things are so long that no one can actually get leverage, so we need we can wear much lighter armor, because we're not like swinging in there, we're just poking at each other. It's much harder to poke through. And so pike squares fighting each other was incredibly stupid. Basically, it was neither side wanted to get near each other. And so they would stand at the point where only the front rows could barely brush each other because neither side wanted to do anything. And so how pike and shot big battles would work is your pike squares would move forward to protect your guns. And then you'd lock each other down. And you'd basically try and make formation so the other guys couldn't move. And then you'd fire your guns at each other. And then the Italians, bless the Italian mercenaries, saw this whole thing. And they went, wait a minute, what if we just didn't load lead into the gun? The actual historic thing with the Italian mercenaries is Venice and Florence are at war. And they both hire their mercenaries. The mercenaries have their pike squares and they have their horsemen. They maneuver on the battlefield, and you have the Venetian merchant who hired them and the Florence merchant are watching from the hills with their spyglasses. And the armies are in front of each other. The pike squares move out, and they close their eyes, flail their pikes at each other. Then you have a group of musket men all fire their blank guns, and big plumes of smoke come out. And the merchant goes, oh, very good, very good. And then the commander's like, oh my goodness. See how well he flanked us there and fired that line of guns at our men. We are devastated. We have to retreat from this position. And then the Florence men would gain 2 feet and they'd win the day. And then the next really dumb thing happened where Florence won. And Venice we surrendered to Florence. We lost this. And the mercenary went, what do you mean we lost? And the merchant, well, the city-state would go, yeah, you said we lost. We haven't lost. We're going to keep fighting. And the merchant's like, no. We lost. We gave up. It's like, I need money. We're going to keep fighting. And if we don't keep fighting, then you have a bunch of unemployed mercenaries who know how to fight in your city. And so you'd be held hostage by your mercenaries to keep fighting, so you'd have to keep paying them.
Yeah, a little bit of a risky strategy. Use mercenaries.
No, in some ways, I actually think the Italian mercenaries were the peak of warfare.
Yeah.
Because very few people died.
Well, I think that was probably true.
I think that's true for actually that's true for a lot of wars until it comes to civil wars or blood feud.
Well, I have this theory that, like, no one has ever been hurt in history. Like, the more you learn about an event, the more it gets revised downwards. It's like, actually, there wasn't 10,000 people on each side. There was, like, 5,000 on each side. Yeah. And one side wasn't totally eliminated. It was actually, like, 2 people tripped on the cliff and died. But I think this happened in Japan during World War II, supposedly. We're going to learn that World War II was just 6 guys in a shed. But what happened was the Japanese wanted to act like their fearless, heroic samurai ancestors. Yeah. That had never acted that way. Yes. But they had this myth of them acting that way. And so the Japanese went crazy in World War II trying to be like great samurai, right? Yeah. But I think that's been happening everywhere throughout all of history, to the point where warfare is now like this really, really dangerous, deadly thing. But I think at one point it was probably like a slightly more violent football match with, like, a person might die here and there, but you're like, oh, whoa, okay. Well, so... Because imagine taking a sword, right? Walking up to someone else with a sword, and then there's a 50-50 that one of you is going to get stabbed, right? You don't do that. What happens is everyone goes to the battlefield, and then it's like when the boss comes in and you need to look busy, you're just all walking around looking menacing, like, oh, I'm maneuvering, look at me maneuver. Well, like, in martial arts movies when they're all circling Jackie Chan, trying to look busy? That's what you're doing in a war. You're just pretending you're fighting. You're like, oh, I'm going to be over here.
So,
I'm going to be over here.
The period of the foot knight I was talking about. Yeah. Do you know how you won wars in that period? You bankrupt your enemy. So what would happen is you would fight a battle with knights and kings. Yeah. And your goal was to capture their lords and then ransom them back to the kingdom until the kingdom bankrupted itself and they could no longer fight you. And then you'd win the war and you'd make a bunch of money. That's what wars were, was literally trying to bankrupt your enemy. And so you would have wars like that, and then you'd have like the 400-year war where a lot of people died.
So you could just win the war by not bringing the king to the battle, if you think about it.
Well, then the enemy doesn't bring a king, and then you break the rules, and then people kill each other.
Well, that was...
like, so there's, like, this whole thing of, we look at fantasy, right? And so, that fantasy armor is unrealistic. Like, he's got all those greebles all over his armor. He's got that gold trim. He's got, like, the big fancy helmet. It's like, no. A really important knight would actually go into the battlefield wearing that. Those things would impair him, let's say, 10%. But they would give him 300% more armor. Yeah. Like, in actual fact, like, having that fanciness and, like, gilded armor increases your AC by 10.
Well, it also means that you can see that there's a knight there, so you're...
Well, no, that's why it increases your AC by 10, is because...
Oh, no one wants to hurt you.
You don't see a knight, you see a paycheck. Yeah. It's a dangerous paycheck, so you're going to be careful, but... You want to capture that thing.
You don't want to just kill him.
Because he's wearing armor made of gold. And it's not even you want his armor. It's, that guy's rich enough to have fancy armor.
Yeah. We're going to keep him. We're going to treat him nice.
And so the fancier your armor, the more... It was basically like you were literally showing off how valuable you were.
And this is where the rationalism and empiricism comes in again, right? Mm-hmm. Because you can strip away everything to optimal armor. Yeah. But then you actually become less effective than what is empirically demonstrated to work, which is playing on other factors that you might not consider being directly related to warfare, such as monetary, greed, even just the honor between knights. Like, you don't just kill your opponent's nobles and knights.
Well, there's another thing of shock and awe. Yeah. As if you have a man march onto the battlefield, he's got this horse with like this beautiful coat, whatever those are called, like barding. Yeah. Beautiful barding. He has a surcoat that's like which is very pretty. He's got the helmet with like a swan sitting on top of it. Yeah. His lance is covered in ribbons. There is actually a shock and awe to that of, oh, we're fighting that. Well, also, like, look how beautiful, like, polishing your armor, like the whole thing of the battlefield, knights are wearing the grungy armor. 2 reasons that's inaccurate. You would polish your armor to a mere sheen because it would keep you cool. Because the more light it reflects, the less hot the armor is. But also, it looks awesome. And if you are a group of filthy peasants and levymen, and you see an army of awesome knights, you're like, oh, can we even fight that? Like,
well, especially if you're like, that's the Swan Knight. Careful, that's the Swan Knight. Because There's been actual, it's easier now, we can test it online, but there's been a lot of cases where, I'm sure it happens in like Age of Empires and whatnot, but it's happened in chess as well, where if the names are hidden, grandmasters will lose more often against like non-grandmasters, because the non-grandmaster isn't like, because if a grandmaster makes a misplay and you're sitting across from him, you're like, this guy's on another level, I can't even comprehend, I might as well surrender right now.
Well, that was one of the hilarious things with Hidden Cup, with Age of Empires, as you mentioned, was in the Hidden Cup, whenever someone would lose, it's like, oh, I must have just been beaten by the Viper.
Yeah.
It's like, this guy trounced me, he must be the Viper.
Yeah.
And it turns out it's Doubt. And then you're like, wait, I thought Doubt was the Viper.
But it's the same thing in like chess or whatever, because you're like, I didn't know that was I didn't know that was Magnus Carlsen, so I just played my best and I beat him. Versus like Magnus Carlsen makes a misplay or is goofing around, and you're like, he's on another level. I can't handle this. Like I don't know what I'm up against.
Well, even something relevant to right now. Well, it's FIFA going on, and there are two superstars. In FIFA, there's the Norwegian player who looks like a Viking warrior, who he is super expressive, very powerful, and the Norwegian team are doing well. But like this guy has taken by storm both fans and other players of, this guy is awesome. I want to play against him because he's awesome. And then there's Messi, who got a hat trick. He's 38.
Yeah.
And it's like, people don't get hat tricks in FIFA.
Yeah, and not at 38.
He's gotten multiple hat tricks, and the latest one, he's 38. And it's like, if you're a team and you're playing against the legend Messi, that's going to mess with you.
Yeah, I've heard Ronaldo's still playing, and he's now 43 or 42 or something like that. Yeah. And apparently he's not playing as good as he once was, and it's actually like people are worried about him wrecking his legacy basically, because he's the best, right? Like Ronaldo's basically the best there ever was, and now if he's like, I think Messi's up there too, but
I think Messi might have surpassed him.
But Ronaldo keeps playing, and it makes him look less good and less good sort of thing now. Apparently, like I haven't watched it, but I've heard that's happening. So it there's a risk associated with it where I don't know what happens. Like is Ronaldo? See, this is how little I know. Ronaldo's Spain, I believe.
Yeah.
Or he might be Brazil.
Yeah.
That's how much I know. But or he might be Portugal. But I wonder if there's still an advantage. Even let's say you have a better striker, because he plays the striker position, I think. Let's say you have a better striker than Ronaldo, and you're like, okay, will I do better if I put the better striker in, or will I do better if the other team's like, we're up against Ronaldo?
Yeah, exactly.
What do we do? Like, I think there might be an advantage having him there even then.
Yes.
As long as he's playing about average. But it sounds like he's playing a bit below average now. So if he's playing below average, then you start saying, they still have Ronaldo, the idiots. They don't know what they're doing. But yeah, having like Messi or someone like that, you're like, oh.
Well, that sort of happened to Viper. People are saying he got old.
Yeah.
And so it used to be, I'm playing against Viper. That has more changed to, I'm playing against Hera.
Yeah.
I actually think I can beat Viper now. And instead of having the panic and the worry of playing against Viper, you think of, this is how Viper plays. What strategy can I use to beat him? And then it's kind of shown the people who have the most success against Hera. They're not going, oh no, I'm playing against Hera. I'm playing against the best player in the world. It's like, this is how Hera plays. What's the best strategy I can deploy to beat him?
I don't know if it's similar, but I was thinking about this with, because there's this weird thing, like Kilimanjaro in Africa, tallest mountain in Africa, was a mountain that needed to be conquered. Like, it wasn't just someone was like, I'm going to go up to the top of that one day. Like, someone had to figure it out. But now if you go to, I think it's in South Africa, if you go there, you can do like a trip to Kilimanjaro and you can hike up there. Like, you can just do a hike. You don't need to be like a mountaineer or anything. You can just go up to Kilimanjaro and come down. And I think it's weird. It's like there's this, Terry Pratchett talked about it, like, first it'll only be the most rugged explorers, and 3 of them will die in the journey to conquer the top of the mountain. And then 50 years after it's been conquered, a granny will walk up to the top of the mountain, and then she'll walk back down, and then toddle back up later that afternoon because she forgot her glasses and grab them and go back down. Yeah. And it's like there's this metaphorical conquering of a thing in the human psyche and species. But I was thinking about it, and there's more to it than that, because if you, like, let's say that mountain right there, right? Yeah. We've both been up there. We've both been to the top of that. Yeah. And it's not too hard. It's easy. But you think about, there's a road up there. That's why it's easy. Imagine, and they're like, well, even if there wasn't a road, I could get up there. It's like, yeah, because you'd take the path the road took. But imagine if you didn't know where the road was built.
Yes.
There's rivers. There's cliffs. There's dense foliage. There's there's rocky, scattered terrain. Like, if there's 1,000 paths you can take, it gets way harder to... Because there's parts of that mountain, actually, in the valleys, where there's like a wall that's like, 5 feet tall of just earth. It's like, you can't really get over it because it crumbles. When you have to find a way around it, and they're long. So it's like, you have to come back the next day and try a different route because you just couldn't find your way around that wall of earth. So knowing the path is like 90% of the battle. And so I think someone like Viper, who, if he's not constantly changing his game, it's like, this is how you beat Viper. It becomes like, now you can beat Viper. You just got to do this. It's like with, I think the AI in Age of Empires actually is, like, there's a lot of people that are like, you shouldn't go online until you can beat the AI, right? Like, because AI is not that difficult. I would actually like to argue that the AI in Age of Empires is actually quite strong. However, if you know how to beat it, you can beat it fairly easily. Like, that's sort of, or not, maybe not fairly easy, but you can. It's much easier to beat if you know how to beat it. Like, but it's actually quite strong.
Yes, and it has. Viper has actually said this about the AI. He said, if the AI gets to fully boom in Age of Empires, like the hardest AI, I have trouble beating it. Because it can micromanage. It has a micro and a production ability that surpasses any human.
And that's the thing is, when people say the AI is easy, it's because they rushed it in like Dark Age and Whereas if you play like a normal player, not like a pro player, or like someone trying to beat the AI, and you build up your base, and you're going to get crushed. Like, there's not much you can do against them.
It booms in an entirely different manner than people do.
And it's much weaker early game, and it's insanely strong late game. But Age of Empires to me has always been like a city builder, right? But if you play like that, the AI is going to destroy you. You're not going to stand a chance. And
no, I was thinking it's a shame. Like, I don't even know if Stronghold does it, but there's actually no video game that really captures what a siege is.
A Stronghold does a pretty good job of it.
But it's like, the siege is a back and forth of trying to figure things out. Like, the cross-section book of the Castle Siege. And it is, you realize if you can think of it, it was done. One of my favorite things is battering rams. And the countermeasures to battering rams. So, battering ram is coming to knock down your gate. Now, your gate has to be there because you have to be able to get supplies into your castle. You have to have a way in. So you have to have a weak point. You have to have a gate. So how do we protect this gate? We put a moat in front of it. And the moat makes it so there is no foothold for people to stand on to knock down your gate. So before you bring forward the battering ram, you bring forward a tortoise hare. And a tortoise hare is basically a covered wagon that rolls along, and you dump earth and sticks and garbage into the moat until you make a pile. Then you put a bunch of planks over it, and you've made a bridge. And the tortoise hare, arrows don't work against it. It's covered in wet animal hides. Flaming arrows can't burn through it. So you drop rocks on it. Sometimes they'll crush it, sometimes they'll get through, and so maybe you have to retreat with it and do it multiple times. This will take time. So you've conquered the moat. So now you come to the gate, and you've got your battering ram. And your battering ram, of course you have a covered battering ram because you don't want to get shot, so you don't want rocks dropped on you. So covered battering ram is way better than just walking up with a log. And you have this big wooden log, and you swing against the gate. Now the gate is covered in metal spikes, so when you swing your battering ram into it, it splits your battering ram head and becomes useless. So you put an iron cap on your battering ram so that you can now smash it through. Now, the battering ram is also heavy, and it takes effort to use because this gate is reinforced, and when you know it, they put a portcullis behind it, which is a bunch of reinforced iron bars in a wedge. So you're going to use some machining, and you're going to hang your battering ram from your covered wagon, so you have the leverage of you bring it back and you swing it forward, use all that weight, use the iron hand to slam into the gate. So they do two things. One is they lower a pillow on a string. And so whenever you swing your battering ram, you're hitting the pillow on the swing, so it's deadening the blow. Another thing is they get a chain with a hook, and they lower it down, and there's a bunch of little notches in the hook, and they grab your battering ram, and then they yank it up. Now, if it's a battering ram without those strings, you can sort of like take it back and fight it away. But they yank it up and it catches the roof of your covered wagon. Your battering ram is now useless, and it's blocking the gate. And like, okay, we need a different way to deal with this. So let's put ladders on the wall. So you swing your ladder up, and the guy's got a stick, and he pokes your ladder down. You're like, oh, well then, we're going to make a heavy ladder. And you swing your heavy ladder up, and it gets up there. And you climb up your ladder, and then you realize you're climbing a ladder, and you're getting shot with arrows, and the ladder can be pushed down. And so you make a ladder wagon, which is, it's a structure with a bunch of ladders that are actually they're like at a 45-degree angle, so you're not like climbing up vertically. You're still quite vulnerable, but that structure is way hard to knock down. So to reduce the vulnerability, you make a siege tower. Of course, you have to engineer a siege tower, and that's a right pain to do. But you've made your siege tower, and you're moving it forward. You invested a ton of work into it. The counter to the siege tower is a catapult inside on the wall. You fire the catapult at the siege tower. It's a flimsy siege tower made on site. It gets obliterated. And it's just
imagine,
one back and forth. And so then there's the sapper. You're trying to dig under the wall, make it collapse, or maybe dig in. Oh no, there's a guy under my wall. What did I do? I can't get at him. I can't drop blocks on him anymore. All right, let's boil some mercury, put it in a pot, then lower it down, and just leave it in the hole he's in. Then there's boiling mercury fumes coming out, and it kills him because it's poisonous.
I think the main way to siege a town was to just
starve it,
not attack.
Yes,
that's attacking is crazy dangerous.
But you have to attack for multiple reasons. One is you have your own supply chain, and you don't know if yours will outlast theirs. They might get allies, or one of the really scary things is your army is always going to be smaller than the population of the countryside. And there might be a field marshal who will rally a militia that will be equal in size to your army, even if it's not as professional. And then the gates can open, and well-rested men who are sleeping in a keep can sally forth and attack you, while you're sleeping in a field camp, dying of dysentery, trying to rely on your supply lines.
That's why you put a wall around your siege camp. But then you can get counter siege.
Yes.
But then you put a wall around the counter siege.
Yes.
I wonder what the most, it's probably just 2 or something.
Yeah.
But it'd be funny if it was counter siege after counter siege after counter siege.
But there's a reason why you try to pound the castle into submission. Even if you're actually not fighting them, you still might want to set a few trebuchets and catapults just to annoy them.
Yeah, just throw dead animals over.
Yeah, dead animals or even flames or stuff. Even if you're not going to do permanent damage.
Just make their life miserable.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because you're miserable.
Yeah.
And you want them to be miserable because if a bunch of well-rested guys come out of the keep in a sally, that's going to screw you over.
Yeah. Or you can do you can also just start dumping gravel at the base of the castle and eventually you'll get over the wall. It takes a while and it's risky, but they can't really do anything to stop it.
Well, they can kill you while you're doing it.
Yeah, but eventually you will have a ramp.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to... There was I guess the best castle in history was probably Byzantium. Sort of going by the... it just couldn't be sieged by anything, right?
No.
Even they sent the Vikings invaded and they were able to send out their Greek fire and take out the Viking navy. And they weren't Vikings, they were Russians, but same idea. They're Vikings by another name. Went in there. I don't, and I think their walls were quite I think there's probably some places that never fell. Even I don't know if Malta never fell. Yeah. So
it never fell until World War I and II.
Yeah, but they were even useful. That's World War II especially is kind of neat because the castles were still effective. They castles were still useful. It's just the cost of a castle is insane compared to the fact that
it's the same thing as wearing armor.
Yeah, 2 tanks can eventually get through a castle, but it's still
And that's the thing now with drones versus tanks.
Yeah,
is a tank is still a very valuable vehicle. However,
drone is
much like the Zero flying into the warship.
Yeah, a drone's a couple $100 for a cheap one, and then you've got a $250,000 tank.
And then the drone flies into the tank treads and blows up.
Yeah,
and the tank can't move.
You've lost your tank. Yeah, they're although from what I've heard about tank operation, it sounds like a nightmare as well. It does not sound like a pleasant vehicle to drive.
Yeah,
and even though you're the thing on the battlefield, it's sounds really
no. So trebuchets as well. You never actually pounded down a castle wall. Except when you did. And that's where... Do you know the story of Warwolf?
No.
So, in Age of Empires, there's a unique technology the English get called Warwolf. And that's based on an actual trebuchet that was built. And what happened is you would build trebuchets to fling rocks at walls. And you actually couldn't really knock down a wall with a trebuchet.
Yeah.
The main thing you'd actually use them for is you would destroy their crenellations and their meticulations. And those wooden structures you build on the outside of castles to shoot arrows out of and give you... You destroy those platforms with trebuchets and catapults. So Warwolf was... I can't remember which English king it was, but this was in one of the English civil wars that happened. I think it was his brother was in the castle, and he decided, we are going to tear down his wall. And so they built the biggest trebuchet ever. They built Warwolf. And that thing was actually capable of destroying walls because of how much mechanical power it had. That it was absolutely massive. And when it was completed, the city surrendered, or the town surrendered because they saw this thing. But he really wanted to use it. And still, he still fired it at the city because they went through all the effort of building Warwolf. And so they still knocked down a wall with it because he really, really wanted to use Warwolf.
I wonder,
that story kind of tickles me, even though it's horrifying. It's like, they built the biggest trebuchet ever built.
They surrendered. Like, come on,
guys! Like, I went through all this thing. Took months to complete.
I'll give you some of my soldiers. Come on.
Just pretend to defend the castle so I can take out your wall.
Yeah. Can you have a couple guys just leap from the walls and it's like, yeah. Just a couple peasants. Nothing. It doesn't have to be any nobles. I just want to see it. I find that hard to like if you make a little sand castle with like little straight up and down walls, right? Yeah. You can flick them over. But you just make a little mound of sand. You can't even kick that over.
Yeah. So that was what Japanese and Chinese castles were.
Yeah. Well, but that's what the British ones were too. Like they would like fill them with gravel, right?
And they fill them with gravel, and that's what star forts became as well.
Yeah, and so it was really just like a mound of gravel, and so like even if you hit it with an insane amount of force, it's going to. But I guess like a really tall, strong wall, a trebuchet might do something, or a cannon could take down potentially.
Yeah, so that was the thing about the Great Bombards versus the walls of Constantinople.
Byzantine, Byzantium, I think at that point. How much was it? Constantinople by then? Maybe it was. Yeah. Anyways, it was Constantinople.
Yeah. This is when it stopped being Constantinople.
Yeah.
Was so their wall, the red wall of Constantinople, was incredibly thick and could survive force. And an interesting thing happened is an earthquake occurred and it broke a bunch of the walls and then it actually made them stronger.
Because it settled?
It settled them, and when they repaired it, they were stronger. And so the idea of firing cannons at a wall, because cannons at the point were actually used to do sieges, but there's no cannon strong enough to break the walls of Constantinople. The idea at that point, before the star forts were built, is the cannon would hit the wall and basically obliterate the stonework, and all the gravel would come pouring out and make a ramp for soldiers to be able to go up. But with the red wall, you'd fire it, and it is so well put together, and it is so massive. Yeah, you would leave a hole in it, but the thing wouldn't fall. And you'd have to like repeatedly fire at one place to make it collapse. And while you're doing that, you're getting shot back at. So the Sultans showed up with like 20 or 30 Great Bombards, which were a new kind of cannon literally built to be really big. It's like, oh, why not just build a cannon bigger? Like that seems like a simple thing.
Yeah.
But if you don't design it right, you just build a really big pipe bomb.
Yeah.
Because you have to figure it out. And so the Great Bombards fired at the wall, and like single shots were taking chunks out of the wall and making it collapse so that soldiers could run up the collapsing ramps because the cannons were so powerful. Yes. And so then in response to those, that's when the star forts had to actually show up. And then star forts are also a really weird thing because to deal with a star fort, you would basically dig trenches to the base of the star fort, then plant mines in it, then run away and blow them up.
Do you think like warfare went downhill after the Great Bombards? Like, it was all fun and games and creative back and forth.
I think it went downhill at the start of
the First War.
Muskets. Like when the flintlocks actually started getting good. That's when I think it went downhill.
It used to be so fun, and then they took all the fun out of it. The tryhards ruined it.
Yeah.
Warfare used to be like everybody's thing, and then the sweats came in.
Yeah.
And they ruined war, And now we've got like machine guns on aircraft, and like you can't even have a wall anymore. Like nobody builds walls anymore. Nobody, like it used to be, you build a good honest wall, and you now own that section of land. Like nobody can come in, but now you can just fly over it.
Now you have to dig tunnels and bunkers.
And, even like, they don't even use paratroopers anymore. It's just drones everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you hide underground now.
Yeah. We've regressed back to World War I.
Yeah, back to trenches.
Yeah. I bet it will happen, actually. I bet there will come a day, because
I think there's going to actually be a thing called drone walls, which is going to be some sort of system which a drone will try to fly through it, and it will just stop working.
Did you ever see, this was back in like 2005, it was the US Navy made this thing. It's like this giant laser pointer, and they did a demo with a drone, and the drone just like caught fire and exploded.
Yeah.
But it costs like, I can't remember. It costs like $100,000 to fire this thing, because it's so much electricity to make this thing shoot.
Yeah.
But you just make that more efficient, or you just strap a nuclear generator to it or whatever. And I think drones will go away.
Well, I think the actual weapon that will work against drones will literally be screaming at them.
Oh yeah, like sonic stuff. That's probably cheaper than a laser. Yeah.
And I think there will literally just be like, the system around Israel, which like fires at the missiles.
Yeah.
Like there will be a system which just identifies drone swarms. It's like if it's an individual drone, you just do like a aim screen. If it's a drone swarm, it's like, oh, you can't target each thing. Oh, drone swarm. It's just the mega subwoofer will just yell at them, and all the drones will drop from the sky.
Yeah, and then but I think there'll just be something worse after that. It'll be like...
Well, then you go, oh, we have these giant subwoofers.
Ninjas.
Well, we have these subwoofers.
Yeah.
Let's aim them at people and buildings.
Yeah, or you'll just have like teleporting ninjas, and they'll just like go in there and plant a bomb in your brain and like, and then takes all the book I was telling you about that, like I said, has some good moments and some. It's called Brain Punch.
Yeah.
And so it's about a superhero, and her power is that she can generate 10 pounds of force. And so that's her whole power.
Yeah.
But she has it has to be within 15 feet of her.
Yeah.
But she can generate it wherever she wants.
Yeah.
And so in self-defense one time, she punched the guy's brain and like killed him. But that's what it'll be.
So there's a Spider-Man villain.
So it'll just be like sonar through your eyes, liquefy your brain.
Yeah, there's a Spider-Man villain who had the superpower to teleport anything in his mouth. And it exchanged places while he teleported, very short range. And so I think Daredevil actually killed him. But Black Cat went to fight him. And he's standing in front of her.
Isn't Black Cat a villain?
She's like an anti-hero. And suddenly she's paralyzed and she falls to the ground.
Yeah.
And what happens is he like drinks poison.
Yeah.
Or like a paralytical thing. And then he teleports it into your brain or your bloodstream. And then blood fills his mouth and he just spits out the blood.
Ugh.
And so it's like, he has such a weak power. He can only like exchange things at a short range. And the guy is like this terrifying mafia boss who if you like displease him, you'll just drop over dead or you'll be paralyzed.
I like what was the book called? It was called it's by Inadvisably Compelled. That's the author's name, but I don't remember the name of the book. But basically, it's about a guy whose power is inertia, so he can give things inertia or take away their inertia. But he can do it to metaphysical concepts as well.
Yeah.
But one of the heroes in the world, because there's a lot of. I think it's the trend, like, I think it's Brandon Sanderson might have started it, but it's the trend of, this thing's so weak, but actually it's strong, right? Or how do you use this in a creative way to make it strong, right? Yeah. But there's a hero in this book that I don't remember the name of, who, he's got like this insanely powerful power that's actually weak, which I think is that'll be the new meta.
Yeah.
So his power is he can lift anything over his head. So he's called the human lift, but he can lift anything over his head.
Yeah.
He can lift a building, he could lift a mountain, he can lift it.
He could lift your mom.
Yeah. But that's all he can do.
Yeah.
So he's not super durable. He's not. So he's not he's a construction worker. He doesn't go on the front line or anything. He just like picks up buildings so they can put a new foundation.
Yeah.
Which I think is like a fun way to.
Well, that's the one of the things I like is the ace of whatever, like it has all their powers, like it has their powers for population, they have terrible powers, is the short story. It's fun to think of like a group of superheroes in a short story to think of superpowers. And one of the things I like doing is coming up with superheroes who are useful.
Yeah.
Like they're not even superheroes, just their power is, it just makes their life better.
Yeah.
Or it's a talent that they can do, and so they're like the lift guy. They're a construction worker. It's like, oh, you have this power. You could do so much with it. It's like, yep, I'm a really good accountant.
Yeah. Yeah, I can
like
even numbers like nobody's business.
But it's not even that. It's like you even take the superhero, like you have someone like the Flash, but you're in a world of superheroes, and so the Flash is like a street sweeper.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't want to be. That sounds dangerous. You could get hurt doing that.
Well, I think the flaw really is the world of superheroes. It falls apart the moment you try to make it coherent, and it's very difficult to maintain any sort of anything because it's a weird concept at all. It's like, what if demigods are regular citizens of the world? Like someone like Superman, you can kind of keep him in this sort of mythological Hercules status, but yeah, others like Green Arrow or Batman, they're just like, they're regular guys, but they're also a superhero. And as long as they stay as detectives, it's fine. But then you try to do, okay, Batman's fighting Darkseid, and you're like, okay, this is getting weird now.
This is dumb.
This doesn't work anymore. That detective from New York is now fighting the embodiment of evil in the universe. What? You lost the plot somewhere along the way.
Yeah.
So I watched a video recently. I think it might have been one you watched because it's similar to something you talked about with like the different cultures. But it was talking about going from a fear culture to shame culture to guilt culture. Did you see?
No.
Okay. So the guy's argument was that we all start in a fear culture, and the guiding principle in a fear culture is avoiding things that you're afraid of or getting rid of them. So you see, so he gave an example of you go and you're in a war. You kill the clan leader of the enemy clan. So the fear culture, you look at the kid's child, and you can either, in a fear culture, you could either, to preserve your honor, kill the kid so he can't grow up and attack you, or in a different fear culture, why would you attack the kid? Like, you're just going to show you're afraid of a child, so you let the kid go off on his own because you're not afraid of a child. This fear culture. So your honor is shown by showing how brave you are and eliminating threats, right? So very violent, bloody. Then the next culture would be the shame culture. So your king says you must kill him, and if you don't do it, then you'll be shamed. So you have to do what he says, and you kill him, you're good to go. Your king told you to do it. If you don't do it, then you'll feel the shame, and so to preserve your honor, you have to obey your king. Otherwise, you're an honorless coward, right? And then a guilt culture, you say kill the kid, and you'll say, look, the king told me to kill the kid, but I don't care what the king thinks. I don't care about shame. I care about the guilt I will feel from having murdered a child. Yeah. My conscience won't let me sleep, so I'm not going to kill that kid. So to preserve honor in a guilt culture, you remain true to yourself. Yeah. And so then he said, so guilt culture is like the most powerful culture because it gives you either make that guilt through God informing you or your own like moral standing. I am a person that transcends morality, and I will do what is right. I won't let others dictate what is right. Yeah. But guilt culture, he said, could be overcome by anxiety culture because anything you do or don't do could cause you guilt. And so you become afraid of action. And then if you fall, so what you need is a guiding principle. And so guilt culture has a key flaw, which is without a guiding principle, it falls apart. So that's where something like Christianity can come in, and you're like, what would Jesus do? That's my conscience. Yeah. But if your conscience is instead just, I don't want to do something that will potentially cause harm down the line somewhere, you become paralyzed and unable to do anything, and then everything falls apart. And so he was saying you need a core principle somewhere in the. I thought it was a cool idea.
It is. No, I was going to ask what comes after the guilt culture. Yeah. And the anxiety culture is really cool.
Yeah. Yeah, and he said like it just like you have to the guilt culture to maintain that equilibrium, you need a guiding principle in there.
And then does anxiety culture turn to nihilism culture?
Where you just say everything can lead to badness, so I'm just going to do nothing. Yeah. Yeah, I think it's basically the same thing in his
it leads to nihilism or the Joker's fee.
Yeah. Is Joker datist? Is that what he is?
No, he's the radical freedom.
Well, it's kind of like
absurdist.
Yeah, absurd. Yeah, datism's a form of absurdity. I think. Yeah. But yeah, it's just sort of like you just go.
It's the other side of. It's weird. It's the other. Is it the opposite of nihilism or the other side of nihilism?
Probably the other side of nihilism.
Yeah, the other side of nihilism is nothing matters, so I'll do whatever I want.
Yeah, but it's the other side because existentialism is also the other side of nihilism. Yeah, but it's existentialism. Like Sartre and Camus. Yeah. Like, even though I don't like Sartre, I don't think he was a nihilist. He was more of a, there's no one in control of you. Yeah. So you have an obligation to express your freedom. Yeah. Which is actually, like, it is a positive philosophy. It's just not one I agree with, but it is a positive philosophy. Yeah. And then Camus was like, life is absurd. Yeah. Enjoy it.
Absurdist, that's what they call it.
Yeah, but I would say that Camus was not an absurdist, but an existentialist. I think. But Camus was just like, look, life's absurd. Mm-hmm. Enjoy it. I think it's a positive.
And then Nietzsche ate both their lunch money.
Well, Nietzsche was before. Yeah, Nietzsche was
before.
Yeah,
he still ate both their lunch monies.
And Nietzsche was saying, God is dead, you must become God, basically.
Yeah. Nietzsche ate every philosopher's lunch money until Young?
I think Nietzsche was actually similar to Sartre. The difference is that Sartre was like a deontological Nietzschean almost. Because Nietzsche was like, become God and do what you find valuable, right? Basically. But Sartre was like, you have an obligation to embrace that freedom. It wasn't just do it. It was like, you have to do it.
Well, because I feel like a lot of philosophers basically like supersede each other in a lot of ways. Yeah. And that, was it Jung who basically...
Well, I think like Nietzsche destroyed like Kant's philosophy of deontology by saying you don't have to. Yeah. Like, you could just choose not to, right? Yeah. And then I'd say Jung just said there is meaning. Like, God isn't dead. There is meaning. And
so basically, the biggest TLDR of all is Kant said you need to do good. Yeah. And Nietzsche said, nuh-uh. Yeah. And then Jung said, nuh-uh.
Yeah. It's like, no, there actually is a God. Yeah. Or there is actually meaning, at least. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it was like...
And then Dostoevsky went, but God is cruel.
Yeah. Well, so it's sort of like Kant was like, in absence of God, you still have to do good. Mm-hmm. And then Nietzsche was like, in absence of God, you can do whatever you want. Yeah. And then Jung's like, actually, there is still, like, meaning.
Yeah, and then Dostoevsky said, God is cruel.
Dostoevsky? No, I don't.
In Brothers Karamazov.
Yeah, I don't think he said God's cruel.
Well, he kind of... It's weird, because Ivan wins, but Ilusha's right. Like... Isn't that how it goes? It's basically Ivan wins, but Ilusha's right? Or Ivan would rather be Ilusha than Ivan, or we'd all rather be Ilusha?
So Ivan has the stronger arguments, probably. Mm-hmm. But Ilusha sticks to the fact there is meaning, and Ivan can't deny that there is meaning. Like, Ivan has all the rationalist arguments, but he can't get away from the fact that he still senses there is meaning.
And then the counter to the rationalist argument is...
But that's not God is cruel.
I guess so. But the counter to the rationalist argument is the cones, the kona. is you ask questions that cannot be rationally argued.
Yeah, or something, that's what Gödel did as well, and the philosophies that derived from Gödel. And who was, we talked about this before, but there was a guy before the math was done. Oh, we said it was the Zen guys had done the incompleteness theorem before it had been formalized by Gödel, basically. Yeah. So it was sort of like hang on, rationalism isn't everything.
Yes.
We don't have a mathematical proof yet, but this is our philosophical proof at the very least. And I think so in Brothers Karamazov there was a moment though, which it was a real event from Dostoevsky's life, had a lot of troubles with, which was there was a little girl who was abused by her parents, and they had really annoyed her one time, so they sprayed her in water, I think, and then they locked her in the shed outside in the winter.
And she froze to death. And Dostoevsky, he read about it in the paper.
Yeah. And he put it in the book after, and he was just like, how could God let this happen? How is there any semblance of a God if this sort of thing happened? And he didn't have an answer for it. He was trying to find an answer for it.
And then in that anime where the guy goes back in time to fight the serial killer, he saves the little girl from being frozen in the shed outside.
Oh, in Erased? Or whatever?
Yeah, Erased.
Yeah, I guess, sort of, yeah.
Because she was in the past, she died in a shed, and he saved her.
Yeah. And then, do you think, they tried to wrap it up really neatly, right? Like, he goes into a coma until he's an adult again, so he doesn't have to live through his life.
Yeah.
Except, the fact that he was in a coma means that the whole world would have been different because he wasn't around anymore. So it's like, that was bad, was it? Because he spent his whole life saving people's lives. And then he's in a coma now for his life, so he didn't actually save anyone's life.
There's this funny thing in Japanese manga, where the Japanese artists will discover something about Western culture, which they become obsessed with, and they take it a few steps too far. And
Christianity.
Yeah, Christianity, fantasy concepts, and they really delve into it, and they have superpowers based on it. They take historical characters. And I'm waiting for the anime or manga that comes out, where the characters' powers are based on Greek philosophers. And so you have the guy's powers based on Plato, and the guy's power who's based on the original Stoic, the Behold a Man.
Oh, Diogenes?
Yeah, Diogenes, and you have the Socrates, and so it's the person shoots an arrow at someone, but the arrow can never hit a turtle. That's his power. They sort of have that one anime where the guy has a power called Endless, where he creates infinite space. Yeah. And so nothing can touch them. But I like it to actually be taken if their powers are derived from philosophers. It's just the arrow can never hit the turtle because it has to try.
And then some guy tries to punch Socrates, and his fist just stops in the air. And he's, what's going on? And then it shows Socrates demon, and you see this invisible it's this giant being looming over Socrates protecting him. It's he always listens to his demon.
And the person who has Plato's power is this little girl. Then when she goes in the combat, she becomes this giant buff man because she's the ideal form of human. And didn't Plato have the ideal form of woman is actually man or something?
Yeah, he said that women are basically unevolved men or
because he has his platonic forms.
Yeah, so a platonic woman would be a man basically.
Yeah, and so it's this little girl who turns into this giant buff man.
Basically, humanity is a spectrum. Yeah, from women all the way up to men at the top tier. Yeah.
So. And then she picks up a chair to hit someone over the head with the chair and becomes the greatest chair.
Yeah. Well, no, because it would be the greatest clubbing instrument. Well, it's Japanese. They don't have to mix it. Yeah.
They can get it. They can get it. They can get there 50% of the way, and that's what makes it funny.
And then there's Kato, and you're charging at him, and he's you shouldn't have fought me, and Kato's no, you shouldn't have fought me. It's what? And then you're facing the wrong direction, and you're what the? Because what he would do is he'd enter the Senate backwards, and people you're walking the wrong direction. It's how do you know you're walking the wrong direction? You're walking the wrong direction.
And then of course the anime has to go further, and it moves past the classical philosophers, and you start getting Kant and Jung and
Sartre and
Sartre.
All those guys. You've got Simone de Beauvoir, and she's
gross.
She's fighting the little girl, and then it's the little girl's about to use the chair, and she's I've just lowered the age of consent, and it's no.
Yeah. Yeah, you get the French philosophers, and they're all perverts.
A bunch of the girls, the Plato girl's about to hit her with a chair, and then this group of Frenchmen just jump on her, and she's haha! You see, from the beginning of the fight, I had already lowered the age of consent. And
well, that's why I say it's the villains are the French philosophers, and it's the people aren't the actual philosopher; they're just embodying them. And so all the French philosophers have weird perverted outfits and look slightly wrong. And then the German philosophers are all super serious.
Yeah. And then the Russian ones are just sad.
Yeah. Domain expansion, Gulag Archipelago.
What's that one do?
you have to work until you're free, because the work will set you free. That's not even his philosophy.
I don't know.
He was a philosopher, the guy who wrote Gulag.
Solzhenitsyn said that the line between good and evil is drawn down every man's heart. So it's like you fight a copy of yourself.
Yes.
Yeah, it's like you're like dueling yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like that. Just like it. And then you've got what was his name? Epictetus, or the founder of Stoicism.
Yeah.
You have him like it's like summon porch, and then he sits there and he starts lecturing you about how like back in his day things were better.
Yeah.
Do you think? Like, that's the other thing. We have all these great historical figures, right? Yeah. This was some guy sitting on his porch yelling at people, right? Like, do you think he was just this... It's just like the story grew a little bit, like...
I feel like that's what happened to Diogenes. I think Diogenes was literally a response to the other philosophers.
But he was like a homeless man that we've made like one of the top like philosophers.
Well, I think the people of Athens were messed up and they made him a philosopher.
Yeah, but Athens just seems to me like a very small town where people everyone knows everyone's business and they're just like what was the population? Was it like 500 people? Like it
was a bit bigger than that.
It seems like everyone was just...
Do you know about the War of Athens and Sparta and the final conclusion?
Is that the one that what was it called? The Messenian Dialogues or whatever are from?
Maybe.
Like, there was a neutral territory. Yeah, this was Athens and Sparta, I think. There was a neutral territory in the war that would be a tactical advantage for Athens to take.
Yeah.
So they declared war on this neutral city.
Yeah.
And the city was like, why are you attacking us? Like, we're neutral. We don't want to farm you. And there's this great... It was like a series of dialogues written about their conversation.
Yeah.
And... in the end, the city said, economically, this is stupid. Morally, we've proven that this is wrong.
Yeah.
And, in the eyes of the god, you're wrong, basically. And Athens said, yeah, you're right, but it's tactically advantageous to us. And the strong will do what they will, and the weak must suffer what they must.
Yeah.
And so they conquered the city.
So
that was...
Sparta then, they had wars, but Sparta actually won in the end. So Sparta beat Athens. And then something very interesting happened, which was it was quite tiring for Sparta to do that. And everyone else hated Sparta for doing it. And also everyone else already hated Sparta. And Sparta realized they had no friends left. And then a man from a little city province up north conquered them all.
Philip.
Yes.
Philip II.
Philip of Macedonia.
Yeah, he took... Well, a lot of the Greeks would have argued the Macedonians weren't even Greek, apparently. But yeah, he was Greek.
Yes.
Even today, what's it called now? It's called like North Macedon or something.
Yeah.
It's still around, but they've got a cool flag. Have you seen their flag?
Yes.
It's like a sun.
Yeah. I didn't know about the argument thing. I just...
Yeah. No, it's like this very famous like series of dialogues.
The strong will do what they will, yeah.
Yeah, the strong will do what they will and the weak will suffer what they must.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the final conclusion of Athens. It's like, it doesn't matter if morality's on your stride, strength is on our side.
Yeah.
And it's like pretty brutal.
Yeah, the city of philosophers basically went, okay, yeah, fair enough. Now hand over your lunch money.
Yeah, it's
I've told you multiple times about my dream that I had, which was no matter how clever you are, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, it's like you can't outsmart.
You're not going to change someone's mind by outsmarting them.
Yeah, no, unless you're very... But no, you're really not. You just have to... I really think that like it's one of the most important stories ever is like Orpheus leading Eurydice out of Hades. It's like all you can do is lead and trust they'll follow. If you do anything else, it's lost forever.
Yeah.
And there's kind of an added thing to that as well, which is the journey out of hell must be taken alone.
Yeah.
Like you don't get to have someone help you. You don't get to help anyone. It's a completely solo journey. And also, you die alone, which is I'm sure there's something important there. But it's like you can't, no matter how much money and people you desperately grab onto so you don't feel alone or you don't feel powerless or whatever, it's like you die alone. Like you can be like, don't leave me, but you're dying alone, it's
mark my footsteps, my good page, tread within them and you'll find it easier.
But even then, like you can have people help you along the way, but you're dying on your own. And so I think the lesson from that is you need to be able to die alone. You need to be able to be alone and be with yourself in that moment. Like it's...
Well, that's the thing with Eurycles is basically he had to say, follow me, and then he had to keep walking, but he looked back.
Yeah, and he had to leave hell alone. Like he didn't have someone to help him up the stairs, and Eurydice didn't have someone to help her up the stairs either. It was just... And
then that's the meta level of what's her place with the singing tree, the...
Oh yeah,
Scheherazade?
No, Scheherazade was the one that told the story. Yeah. But yeah, the woman that did that
is she. It's like if if you're you will be, it's not even, when you go up the mountain, you will hear voices and you will be misled. It's not even, don't be misled. It's, you will be misled by these voices no matter what you do.
So just stop up your ears so you can't hear it.
Yeah.
It's like, you don't have what it takes. Nobody does.
Yeah.
Just don't even try.
Yeah.
Flee from temptation, like that that confusing painting of that priest with the succubi.
Yeah.
He's not running in that picture. Do you notice that? Like that, he's famous for resisting the succubi and like fleeing out the door, right? Yeah. But in the painting, he's just sitting there, like he's like, I'm waiting for the painter to leave, and then Eddie can do whatever I want.
I swear, classic paintings are an excuse for perverts to get off.
It's the paintings that you see. It's like Titiana and Oberon.
Yeah, Titiana
and Oberon, like the Court of the Fairies.
Yeah,
you see
a painting of Mab doing something.
The birth of Aphrodite.
Yeah.
You see the rape of Psyche.
The race between the woman who dropped the golden apples, the man who dropped the golden apples, and the woman who ran after him.
I'm not sure.
It is Orion and the woman. They had I think.
Atlanta, maybe?
Yeah, it was Atlanta's race.
Yeah.
That's a famous painting because sports at the time were done in the nude.
Yeah.
And because it was a woman doing a race, they got to draw Atlanta naked.
Yeah. No, there's just every like
it's basically like you would try to find a historical event of a woman doing sports.
Yeah.
Because you did sports in the nude.
Yeah, it's just like any goddess or any fairy or
actually another one that was done was paintings of the Queen of Scotland.
Scotia, I think.
Yeah. Because everyone knew that the Scots fought naked.
Oh.
So
they had her on there.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, you got it. You know what was interesting? It wasn't like the old-fashioned paintings, but I was looking up because you had that picture for one of our episodes of Eowyn with the ridiculous armor, and so I was looking up that those two famous Boris Vallejo and Frank, the dude that drew the orcs without pants.
Yes.
Yeah.
With the really big butts. Like everyone he draws has really big butts.
Yeah. So both of these famous fantasy artists, they would draw everyone like super scantily clad. People said about Frank, whatever his last name is, I can't remember right now. They said this man just hated pants. Like he had a hatred for pants.
Yes.
They're like, you think that his picture of Eowyn isn't going to be accurate to the rest of Rohirrim? No, all the Rohirrim were dressed like that. Yeah. None of them were wearing pants.
There's a reason why Aragorn, in the what's it called? The animation.
Yeah, the Lord of the Rings animation.
The first one, not the second one. Where you draw over someone, was that?
Yeah, rotoscoping.
Yeah, the rotoscope. Why is Aragorn not wearing pants?
Yeah, he's just got. Frank was actually one of the people that worked on that film.
Oh, and so that's also why Boromir didn't have pants?
Might have been.
Because both Boromir and Aragorn didn't have pants.
But yeah, he worked on that. But the weird thing about that is, with both of these artists, was they were the models for most of their own artwork, because back in the day you couldn't look up something online or anything, right? So them and their wives were like the models for like all their characters, but they were like super fit bodybuilders. Like they were like these top tier artists, but they were also like these like model bodybuilders. Yeah. And so like that's his wife and his daughter and him in like all those things. The daughter one's a bit weird to me, but yeah, it's like those people basically.
Well, yeah, you have to work. It's like Waterhouse.
Yeah.
It's like, wait, all these women in Waterhouse's painting look the same. It's his wife.
But at least like in Waterhouse, they're like clothed.
Yeah.
But like, you know, I need to draw this fantasy heroine. Daughter, come here. All right. But on the other hand, I actually think he wasn't sexualizing it. He just hated pants. Like looking at his art, it's like this was a man with one passion in life.
Well, and that was the big thing of what we talked about before. But why all the women look like men in the Sistine Chapel?
Yeah,
is because it was extremely vogue, or what's the term, like not allowed?
Vogue is popular, so the opposite of vogue. Yeah. Out of vogue. It was
out of vogue. It was verboten. It was extremely verboten to paint women.
Yeah.
It wasn't even to paint women naked with Michelangelo. It was just, you couldn't have a woman model. That was a no-no.
I'm going crazy. Like, AI has used it's not X, it's Y pattern so often. You are now AI written. You're just like, it's not even bad writing or bad speaking. Yeah. It's just AI does it so often that now whenever I hear it, I'm like, stupid AI speech writer over here.
Well, I shall try to correct for such things.
Well, no, because it's not bad, right? Yeah. It's just the AI does it way too often. So when you read a lot of like AI assisted nonsense on Royal Road, then you suddenly see it everywhere.
But
no. It's just you couldn't draw women, so he drew men.
You couldn't draw women, and his models were men. And so he would have a man pose the nude, and then he would like draw the sketch to the painting. And it's like, all right, now what do women look like? All right, I think like women are fatter than men. They've got more fat to them, and so it's like, all right, I'll make this a little fatter, and do the chests. Yeah, I think that's what I should do for a woman. That's good enough.
Call it a day.
Yeah,
take the day off.
I mean, the other thing is he wasn't a painter.
Yeah,
he was a carver. Like you look at sculptures of women, amazing. Like they are proportionally right. It's Michelangelo, you're the greatest artist of our age. Oh, I thank you, Pope. Now paint for me the roof of the Sistine Chapel. I'm a carver. You are the greatest artist of our age. Now paint it. But I'm a carver.
And then compose a song for me about the painting.
Yes, compose a song and coordinated dance.
Yeah, but I'm a carver.
And then cook me a 5-course meal.
And then make a video game based on it. Yeah.
That's basically... I mean, he was a good painter, too.
Yeah. Oh, call it there? Yeah. All right. Well, memento mori, sandwich lickers.
Yes.
Yeah. Got an outro. After 7 years? 9 years, whatever it is. Got an outro. Which I don't know if I want to use, but it's funny.